Hi everybody, this is Kelly with Respectful Parent, and today is 5 Minute Friday. You might get it on Monday, but 5 minutes with Kelly. And this is Catherine Dickerson. She's my colleague, PET instructor, former Montessori teacher, and genius extraordinaire. But today we're going to talk a little bit about anger as parents, and how do we curb our own anger when we're trying to work with our children. So the thing I want to talk to you about is anger is a secondary emotion. So there's always something that came first. So the key is to pause and identify, what was I feeling before I felt angry? Was I scared? Was I worried? Was I terrified? Was I embarrassed, hurt, sad? So some of those really primary feelings usually come first. And the second thing is problems aren't usually emergencies. So if you feel like this needs to be dealt with right away, pause and think, does it? Can it wait until I'm rational and calm? And then deal with it later, because most problems will wait. It's going to be okay. So that you can pause and then come back and deal with it with a more clear head when you're not emotionally flooded. Do you have anything to add to that? And I'm going to tell you a story, but I'm going to see if Catherine has anything.
Okay, one thing to keep in mind is that when you rush to anger, you are probably roadblocking yourself in your mind. Our emotions come from our thoughts, and you're probably saying things to yourself that are causing your pain. Dr. Gordon talked about how parents cause their own miseries.
Right. So what I think you're saying is, because not everyone here knows about PET.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
yes.
So what I think she means is, when you think something, you feel something because of those thoughts, and your thoughts aren't always correct. You can interpret something and be completely wrong. So you can think that your child was completely disrespecting you. Disrespect is a thought.
Yes, and it's a conclusion.
And a conclusion, not necessarily a feeling. You can be sad because you thought that your child saying no and stomping his foot was disrespectful, and that maybe made you feel sad, or whatever feeling that brings up for you, but you think he's being disrespectful. If you reframe it and realize that that is a healthy, and you think that's a really healthy expression of him setting a boundary, you're not going to feel disrespected. So it's two different ways of looking at it that cause the feeling.
Yes, exactly.
So if you can reframe those thoughts, sometimes the anger goes away. But I'm going to tell you one story, and then I'm going to leave, because I promise always 5 minutes, as anger being a secondary emotion. On the 4th of July, the day after the 4th of July, the roads were still closed, I think. But near our house, my daughter and I went for a walk on her bike, and she usually stops at every single corner and waits for me as we go around the block. It's a huge block. And this particular time, she wasn't there. And so I kept walking, and she wasn't at the next corner, and I kept walking, and she wasn't at the next corner. And I got to the end, and she was nowhere to be seen. So one of the neighbors was out, and I asked if they'd seen her. They hadn't seen her. They got in their car and started driving around for her. I called my husband. He's like, yeah, she's here. She's home. So she had crossed at 6 a very busy street and gone home. And so I'm walking home, and, I was a little bit panicked. Rationally, I was like, she's probably fine. But I realized, so she comes running up the street, Mommy, I'm so sorry. And she jumps, she's crying because she knows her father had told her, Mom's out looking for you, Mom's really worried about you. So she knew. And she jumped into my arms, and I hugged her. I was so scared. I didn't know where you were. You crossed a busy street. And she goes, I know. I thought I could. So there was my clue. You were feeling really brave. We've been practicing crossing the street, and you thought you could do it. And I did do it. And I said, I know. And I did not know where you were. And she said, I'm sorry, Mommy. I'll tell you next time. Next time I'll tell you first when I'm feeling brave. So she understood that, but I told her my first feeling. Now, that could have been totally different if I would have said, how dare you leave without telling me? What were you thinking? And blame. That never would have been solved. So there's two ways you can approach that. So my thoughts were, I got enough time walking home to find her, to not be angry, and to pause and really identify that I was really scared. I didn't know where she was. So that's how you can deal with anger as an adult when you're upset with your children, is identify that first feeling.
To actually stop and ask yourself, what's under this?
Right.
What am I telling myself?
And you could take a few minutes and do that. So good luck. I hope that helps. It's, again, Kelly at respectfulparent.com. Got classes starting soon. I've got a book club on siblings without rivalry starting soon. And I have a subscription group that is starting in a few weeks too. So there's lots of ways to interact with me. Talk to you soon. Bye.